All right, it's scouting time for the tournament. So if you're new to tournaments, when you're getting ready for a tournament to go play in it, doing some scouting and looking at the holes and taking a look at the information that's out there on YouTube and coming and watching videos like this to get a better feel for the hole, especially if you haven't played them a lot. But even if you've played them before, you'll tend not to play holes regularly. So I play pretty much just tournaments. So I encounter these holes when I come across them during the tournament. So the first thing I do is I make myself cheat sheets. So I have every tournament that I've ever played in, I have a cheat sheet for it. And so in this particular case, all of these holes have been played in the same way in two different tournaments. So I can pull up my tournament sheets for them. So when the Christmas tourney was going on last year, I was playing in expert and in rookie, so I've got notes for both sides. Most of these notes some of them have master's notes on them, and so they have notes for every tourney, depending on what division I was playing in. But 77's always played in the rookie division, so there's always rookie notes. So my first thing to do would be to come and pull up my notes. If I don't have any particular, if the holes are spread out, I may go look through my notes to find out particular holes. But that's why keeping notes and having them on hand, when you have a caddy in the real world, your caddy does more than just carry your clubs around. Your caddy knows the distances on those holes. They are familiar with that course. So if you're new to that course and you go out there and you hit a shot and you go, what do you think? My 165 or my 155, because that may make a difference in how you hit your club. So having those notes available is my first step for scouting for holes. And then my next step is I then create a new sheet. So I just take a blank piece of paper and I write on here, this is where all of them start. And I write down what they are. It's a par 3, a par 4, a par 5. Which one of these holes are we really trying to take advantage of? Is it possible to get eagles on all three of the par 5s? That's a key thing, because on those par 5s, it's key if you can get an eagle. On the par 4s, it's key to get an eagle. Is it possible to get an eagle on these par 4s? And if it's not possible, there's one of the par 4s on here that you got to work to get a birdie. It's very easy to end up with a par on that par 4. So, knowing the hole. So that's where I start, is just with a blank piece of paper, draw some lines, put some stuff on it. My next step is I really want to refamiliarize myself. I find out what tour those holes are playing on, and if you're playing in the rookie tournaments, you can play in any of those, from tour 6 to tour 2. You don't have to have a lot of cash flow to just go in and play. Once you get your account to $500,000 to $1 million, you can start trying to upgrade your clubs. It costs about $1 million. By the time you get to that point, it can cost $1 million to upgrade your clubs and get them all caught up, so that you're just upgrading them as they come along, and then you're not having to upgrade them that often. It's not that big of a deal. But if you just want to play in the tour 6 and below and you're playing in the rookie, then you can play any of these holes. So you can find out what tours they're on, and then you can start playing in those tours to try and catch some of the holes. Golf Clash Notebook, I use this site. If you guys watch my videos, every video starts off, I've been doing that since the first day, because why wouldn't you use this site? I literally do not play, and I got out of it somehow. I got on a thing. I literally do not play the holes in a tournament until I've come and looked at it right here. Guys that know the holes really, really well, and they know, like, hey, Milano hole 3, and you could be talking to somebody and go, oh yeah, Milano hole 3. I couldn't tell you what Milano hole 3 is, but if you put me on that hole, I remember how to play it. So I'm not one of those guys that remembers how to play holes, because I really only play these holes during tournaments when I'm practicing. So whatever tour it's in. So like right now, I know all the holes that are in tour 6, because I've been trying to catch these holes. But I want to come here and I want to look at the hole so that I can really get an idea in my mind. Okay, we got a par 3 right here. There's a bunch of different ways that you can come at this par 3. You can come at it low. You can come out, there's a flat area. You can see where the shadow is right here where it slopes down right in this area right here. So if we take our brush, you know, there's a spot right there. Here's that little hillside I was talking about. So there's a flat area kind of right in that, inside that circle. A lot of guys hit from down here and they're almost doing the rough, they're almost bouncing it off of the fringe to get it towards the hole. I play this hole, I mean, like a lot of the holes, like a lot of these par 3s, and if you guys watch my videos, I don't like to take chances on par 3s. Not during a tournament. You can't afford, hey, it's great to get a hole-in-one on a par 3, and I still want to be able to go for that hole-in-one, but the deal is that I don't want to take any chances of getting caught up in some deal. So I go at this straight at it. I believe this is a Saturn shot, and I'm going to go straight at it and try and backspin it into the hole and leave it up there at the top. And if I end up a little bit long on the top and end up on the fringe and have to chip it in, I'm okay with that. I don't want to push the issue here, because if you push the issue and you really try and get the hole-in-one, there is a hillside right here and you'll backspin down that hill, and that's a very difficult putt from down there. And no matter how much I say I'm not going to be going for the hole-in-one and that I'm going to get in the thing when it comes tournament time, I will find myself in one of these spots down here because I pushed the limit. I was going for it. And I will have to take one of those difficult putts. So it is also fraught with danger, but it's a lot safer shot. Like if you're not feeling it, you can make it so that it lands on that fringe area and just chip it in. You know, I'd rather be safe on these par 3s. Hole number 2. This is a par 4. You can be. I played this today a few times, and I was playing with a extra mile. I'm gonna start playing with a quarterback just so I can see what kind of distances we have on these holes, because some of them are layup shots. Excuse me. Let me get a little closer. So if you're in this shot right here, today. Get that thing going again. Today I think I was right in this area right here. I just barely made it past that. And I was able to get it on, but it's a difficult shot. I had a guardian with me, and I believe the wind was going in my direction, so it kind of helped me out. But it's ideally what you want to be is, where you want to be is in this circle, you know, as close to this edge or in the middle out here. You know, I mean, if you can get out here, that's ideal. Like if you get out in the clear out here. And I can tell you that if you blow through this is one of the risk versus rewards as I remember the hole. If you blow through this and end up out in the rough out here, you can easily make it from the rough out here. You can make it on if you have a Nirvana. I can't speak to any of the other clubs because the Nirvanas are really long. I mean, the whole idea is the day you get a Nirvana, start using it, because you can't go wrong with a rough iron that can give you that kind of distance, because then shots like that become possible. And next time I play this hole, I'll have to try and, you know, I'll be going for shots to see what I can do. And if I get out here, that'll be a key shot to take a video of, because you want to know whether or not you can make it from out there. Don't be afraid when you come onto these holes is to take chances and do stuff and see like what doesn't work, like, whoa, that doesn't work. And this is a great hole for a quarterback. Quarterback's got great control. You can get right out into this area, and if you bring the appropriate next, and if you've got undeveloped clubs, I'm telling you, almost every single hole on this course, the par 4s and par 5s, the big dog is really the club to have. The par 3s, not so much, but these holes here, you almost can't go wrong. Like this hole right here, you almost can't go wrong with the big dog. It gives you distance, so that if you play it safe and just be out here, you've got the wood that can get you onto the green. You don't need a lot of backspin and stuff to get on this green, because the green is super dangerous. You've got this area here with this sand, and the way that they've positioned this as far as the distance, from in this area to that sand, it's every bit of your wood. So, if you can roll the ball up into here and either make it into a very short wood shot or get into a long iron, a max long iron by getting it out in here, and I believe that's possible. I think I've gotten out that far before. But I do believe that when I did that, I had a bigger club. I mean, and for people who don't have max apocalypses or even level, when you get to, if you have a, don't be ashamed if you're playing in the lower levels and you have an apocalypse and you got it to level 4, play that sucker, because there are times when the curl and stuff will help you. Then this might be one of those times where you can curl it out here. You can get a lot more curl on if you do some of those shots to try and blow it out into this area. But I think on this, for most of the players that are out there, a quarterback and a big dog will work fine on this. But I would bring, especially if you have lower developed clubs in tournaments, the whole idea is to bring your best stuff to the tournament. So maybe when you go out there and you play these, if you play it in the tournament, you only have to have, like on this particular hole, if you brought a Titan, you only have to have 5 of them to get you through the entire tournament. So like on your sheet, on hole number 3, or excuse me, hole number 2, we're going to write on here that, so I'm going to make notes that I'm going to bring an extra mile. I'm going to bring a Titan. That's the ball I'm going to bring. And if I find that ball's too much, or if I find a different thing or something changes, then I'll change that ball. But I know like how many Titans I'm going to use in this tournament, or how many of those, if you've got one of the special balls that you paid for and you bought 10 of them, you could literally use those on 2 holes or in 2 different tournaments. You don't want to break up that set, because if you find that, hey, that's what really makes this hole work. If I have that X ball, you can play this hole just fine with a power 3 ball. I don't know that you're going to get any advantage, and I think that if you wanted to get up here so you could get into your long iron range, you'd still be able to do that with a 3 power ball. That you really can't get any further down. It's not going to do you any good to use anything more. So I've got an extra mile, a Titan. My next club, if you've got undeveloped clubs, you need to bring a big dog. And I'm going to start carrying a big dog, just because there are some holes that I've used the big dog enough that I actually have developed a shot. Big dog or guardian or sniper. If you got a high level sniper, a sniper works good on this too. You got a lot of ball guide. You got a lot of control of your ball if you can drive good. So if you're getting good drives and you find that you're way down there and you've got plenty of room with your big dog, then drop down to your sniper and see if your drives are getting you enough distance that you're in your sniper range. That's why it's key to play in tours that are above sniper. If you don't have a sniper that's at level, like at level 8, which you can get to pretty quickly, play in tours that are higher than wherever the sniper's at. What is that, 5 and 6? And play a lot in those tours to try and get that sniper up. You'll get a lot of sniper cards. It's a common card. You're going to get it all the time. And you want to get your sniper up, because that's a great club on this hole if you can hit hard enough on your drive. All right, hole number 3. We got a par 5 here. Let me write down now. I'm going to write on my notes, just looking at the hole, and it's an extra mile, and I'm pretty sure it's a Titan. And we're practicing the hook shot. And I'll try and post a video. I'll try and find, I went back and looked, and I was working in the summertime. When I'm working. And so I didn't shoot for the New York Classic tournament. I just played. And then in the winter tournament last year, I wasn't filming then, so I didn't get it caught. But I found if you can get over right here, there is a shot to get on the green in 2. I've only played this hole a couple times on this new one, but I'm pretty sure if you can get over here and you've got a big dog, or if you're in the, if you're playing up there and you have a Cataclysm, if you've got a long wood, there is a shot to get on the green in two. But I'm not sure how far you have to get over there. And I know that you have to use a very big power ball. So, and you got to try and do the max overpower. And you're trying to bounce out there. You're trying to get a big enough bounce to bounce out, and then to roll out of the deal. So something with lots of power. I was thinking that it was this hole that has a hook shot, but it might be a different hole. But I think it was this hole. I think there is a hook shot that you can do, and it's actually a reverse hook shot. So like normally if you were starting off out here, and let's say you wanted to start off right here. This is where you wanted to, and I don't think you can go that far. I think you're like right in here. This is where you wanted to land. And you're trying to get the ball to go out here. Or if you're doing one of those little hook shots where you're, hooking it, normally if you were trying to go in this direction, you would put on maximum top spin and maximum right hand side spin to get it to go in that direction. But the problem here is that we don't want it to go in this direction because we'll end up out here. We want it to end up out here, so we want to kind of flatten it out. So what you do is you're in your shot, you're actually taking because you want it to go in this direction. And then side spin takes effect the second that it hits the ground. So curl takes effect from this point to here, and then side spin immediately takes effect. And your ball will go in the direction of the side spin. Even with the curl, it'll start spinning in that direction. And so I will start the ball off, and I will do the max overpower, max right hand curl. But when I set the ball up with maximum top spin and maximum left hand side spin. So it starts off coming from here on the hook and hits the ground, and the second it hits the ground, that side spin takes effect, and it counteracts the curl, and you're trying to get the ball to come out straight, not necessarily straight in this line. So if you've got your line here, you're trying to get the ball, you're trying to start off over here and you're doing this because you're doing the hook, and so you're going to miss this spot. So by doing the reverse, putting the side spin on the ball in the opposite direction that you're using curl, what it'll do is you're trying to get the ball to go in the middle and clear that gap. And where you're trying to end up is right down here at the bottom. You're trying to end up somewhere in this area down here. I don't know how much farther you can get than that. I'll go back and remember how to hit that shot, but I believe that if you're on the other side over here, you do have a shot with your wood to get on. The question really is that how far into this rough could you be? Can you be in the rough all the way down here at the bottom, or even halfway, and have a better shot with your Nirvana to get further up? Because normally the shot here is to lay up right here at the top and get as close as you can, but you don't have to be that close because you can't make it from here to here. I don't care what club you have, and I don't care what you do, you're not going to make it from there to there. So your next shot, this shot here, if I can get my freaking stylus to work, you're trying to be here, and then what you're trying to do is get right out in this area right here. It's really kind of risky. And this shot, depending on what you're using, you're going to bounce right here, and then you're going to get into that area. If you're short back here, what happens is now this little trap right here comes into play, and so you got a much more difficult shot. Let me scroll in, get in a little bit on that. This little trap right here is huge because it's super tall and it's steep on the sides, and so it makes this side roll down, and so it moves stuff around it. So if you get up close to it, and even if you miss it, you could end up rolling a lot in one direction, or it'll change the direction because of how steep it is. You were going over this way, and when you hit this, it threw the ball in this direction. So it's always best if you can get, the reason that you're trying to get as close as you can right here is so that you can get as far away from this edge for your first bounce on your second shot, so that you can kind of get the ball right into this area. You can, and it naturally feeds better going this way than it does to try and make the curve on the bottom. But you can run the ball up this way, but you've worked really hard to get to this point, and you're not getting too much more of an advantage. There's got to be a spot, I believe, if you're right here kind of level with the bottom, I think you're already in your short iron range. So, and I'm not sure which short iron. Let's see what my notes here say. This is hole 3, hook shot. There. Big dog and a Titan. Try big topper. Let's see what a big topper would do on the beginning of this hole. Well, I suppose if you were trying to, I don't know if you can, a big topper's going to hit back here. You're expecting one of the end bounces to be that far. These must have been my preliminary notes. I'll have to go through my stack and find my final round notes. So I've got here, no matter what, try and get over. Because there's not really a downside here. No matter what, you're going to be hitting a shot from here to get on the green, or from here to get on the green. But what you don't want to do is end up down here. You don't want to get in the sand here and then not have a shot to get on the other side of this and end up right down here, because this shot is super, super tough. So if you're going to make an error down here, it's, obviously the further forward you make that error, the better. So if you're gonna go for something down here that puts you in danger, go for it. Because if you do make a mistake, you're apt to be farther out. Do whatever you can to make sure you clear that sand and you get out here in this rough so that you're in this area. Because I believe if you can put your ball over here, and we'll have to practice some of these, because we're going to be going for, once we get out there and start really pulling the balls out, you want to go for these shots. So if you get on one of these holes where you have the right clubs, you want to practice with different clubs when you're going through, write down which clubs might work on that. So I wrote on my old notes big topper, so I'm going to try it. There's no downside to it. We're practicing. All right. That was just some preliminary stuff on that hole. And we will need a big dog. Another hole we could use a big dog on. Hole number 4, this is another one of those par 3s. And I haven't played this hole, but I can tell you whatever I'm doing on it is going straight at it. So I'm using one of the backspin clubs, and I'm going to find out what ball will get me to, like what I'm trying to do whenever I use those backspin clubs is I want to try and get them in their most accurate range. So, for instance, if I'm using a Guardian, and I'm not sure if you use a Guardian or a Saturn on this hole. I think you might use a Saturn on this hole. And let's say I'm using a Katana, which is a power 2 ball, and I'm pulling up and my red line for my Saturn is right there. So that's a power 2 ball. So a power 1 ball is going to put you right there, and a power 0 ball is going to put you there, or a ball that's got no power, but maybe it has wind. This would be a Santa ball or something. And it's a par 3, so this would do it. So I'm gonna find out what club I'm gonna use on this hole, and then I'm gonna adjust my ball and try and get myself so that I'm in the club that I want in minimum club, because that club is its most accurate when it's in that range. And you have to make the smallest adjustments. And I'm gonna go for that shot. That's what I'm looking for on all these par 3s. So I haven't played this par 3 since this came out, but I can guarantee it's either going to be a Saturn or it's going to be a Guardian. There are some of these holes that, like Backbone, Hornet, you're going for the shot, and I mean, and there's guys that hit these all the time, and I'm sure that there are people that are successful. Everybody out there can go, yeah, I got a hole in one on that hole. We can all say that, but it's not like there's some holes that I've gotten a bunch of hole in ones on. Because those holes are really like you bring an accurate club and you can take a shot at it. But these types of holes right here are too mousetrappy, where they got the little thing rolling down the hill and it's going this direction and that direction, and so I think I just have a better shot just making sure I get a par. Hole number 5. And I'm going to write a navigator on that, because usually when I'm playing par 3s, navigator's where I start. Navigator's a good ball for par 3s because it's got 2 wind, 1 power. Gives you a little bit of flexibility. If you get there and you go, wow, I should use a bigger power ball, this is one of the newer holes, newer par 3s that's longer. It'll still, the navigator can start to get you there. All right, I love this hole. The drive is hard, and the next shot has to be absolutely perfect. So in rookie, this is a great hole. Any driver will work on this hole. And actually, a quarterback is probably the way to go. I've been using a extra mile, but on this particular hole, this is hole 5, par 4. I'm going to write down QB. That's the driver I'm going to use on this, because a QB's got really good accuracy, and which means that you can hit a shot left or right and still be fine. And on this hole in particular, it's really important that you give yourself a good left or right, because if you hit it perfect here, you're fine, maybe, because you've got to kind of work your way around this tree right here. You're trying to work your way around this tree, and you're trying to get kind of out in this line right here. And this area right here is probably the best. Somewhere out in there that's even with this line. So if you're in this anywhere in this area, but really you don't want to end up down here. Something went wrong if you ended up down in that thing. You're going to end up in that little triangle. So the reason you're trying to get there is, if you look at the green and look at where the rough is right here. Let's see if we can scroll in a little bit on it. If I can get my stylus to work. You can see where the edge of the green is right here. And so, let me turn that off, but you can see where that spot's at. So if you go from right here and draw that line, you want to be, no, I got it out here. So here's the line. You want to be on this side of that line. You don't want to be over here. Because if you're over there, if you hit it too far on this hole, if you hit it too far, then the deal is that you're shortening up how much green you have to work with, because you're pinching that angle all the way across. And so the farther out you get, the worse the shot gets. I mean, you get out here in the rough and you got a bad shot. But I mean, if you were out here really close to the rough and you go, yeah, I got every bit of that. Well, guess what? Not only did you get every bit of that and you risked yourself, but you just made this shot harder. So this is absolutely a layup shot. So anytime you're doing a layup shot, you got to bring your layup clubs, and your layup driver is your quarterback. If you've got a rock that's high enough level, or if you've got a rock that your quarterback's undeveloped, maybe you got lucky and you got some rocks and your rock is a little bit better. Any high accuracy driver will work great here, because you don't have to work really hard to get this. And actually, if you bring a driver that's lower level like that, you can make up the difference on that driver by bringing a great ball. While you may not need a 3 power ball, you could bring a Kingmaker on this hole. And I'm going to write down on mine that I'm going to write Kingmaker. And not so much because I'm doing that layup shot. It'll help me because it has a little more side spin. So if it will give me more opportunities to be out here. But it'll also give me that 3 wind when I get to the other end. and it makes my short iron longer. So, even if something happened and I ended up being a little what I would consider short out here, it may be able to bring my short iron still into play because it's a longer club. And if I get into the spot that I want, it's going to put my short iron more into its minimum or mid-range, and it's going to make those numbers a little tighter, and it's going to make the club a little more accurate. So on my notes, I'm going to bring a QB, a Kingmaker, and a Hornet. And I'm going to put on here. See, the thing I don't like about the Quasar on this is I really do like the idea of a Kingmaker, and I know that a lot of people don't have a lot of Kingmakers, but this hole is so vital in the tournament. This is one of those par fours that if you're, I'm going to write on my notes here in bold letters that I need an eagle. I mean, that's a must-have. You got to know that the guys that are at the top of the charts, that there's going to be some guy on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday that's going to shoot. He's going to get this, or they're going to get this both times around. And so you have to pick it up at least once. I mean, you can't afford to, if they're super lucky, they'll get all the stuff, but you got to pick up these par fours, you got to pick them up. So you need to get this one at least one time in each round. So we need an eagle on this hole. And I want to use my Hornet here. That's why I want to have as much green to work with as possible. If your short iron of choice is a Thorn, then you can get way out here and get close to the edge, because it's not going to matter. Your Thorn is going to be able to get closer to the hole with its first bounce because you're using backspin. But this hole right here really screams to be approached with a little bit of roll. That's the difference between the Thorn and the Hornet guys. There's somebody out there going, I would never ever use my Hornet on that. That is a crap club. Okay, so I just got some basic notes. QB, Kingmaker, Hornet, need an eagle. All right, next hole. Hole number 6. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I remembered how to play this hole. The first time I encountered it here on this, I forgot, so I went back to my old evil ways. And what I tried to do was tried to come out into this area, because it really, like, you're looking at it and it's like, wow, we got to go that way. And you're trying to come out here and you're trying to hope that you either, one, land on the top of that. And you get a great shot from up there, because you can actually hit your next shot right over here. And you don't have to come up at the green. You can come down to the green. And it's not a bad shot from right there on top. But it's fraught with danger trying to get on top of that, because when you come up there, it narrows down, and then you can see where that ridge is at, and everything on the left-hand side falls pretty quick towards that rough. And so the hole it doesn't feed very well once it gets down there. Most people are trying to get down here to the end and trying to bounce out, and they're trying to end up somewhere out in this area. Because even if you get in the rough out here, you can make it. The key is that you got to get all the way to the end of this in order to get out there and not wreck in the middle. And I've had limited success, and I've seen most people that played this hole played this direction and have limited success. So instead of playing that way, there's actually 2 ways that you can play this. You can play right here with a big topper. I'm going to make a note here on my sheet. So this is a par 5, and we're going to bring a big topper. Or an extra mile. And we're going to bring in bold letters a big dog. And we need an eagle on this hole. Absolutely. And we're going to bring the biggest ball that we can get away with. So I'm not sure if we can get away with it on this hole with a katana. But I'm going to start off with a katana and see what it looks like. And if you've got lower developed clubs, then you make that up by going with a bigger ball. So like if you go, man, I'm having a really hard time with a quasar, go to a katana. If you go, wow, I'm having a really hard time with a katana, then you got to go to a kingmaker. So you can step up the scale. Or it's like, hey, all I'm having problems with is the distance. Everything else seems to be fine. I'm getting I can get the ball to the hole, I just can't reach it. Then you can use a Titan, because then you might be able to use the wind to your advantage. And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to get out into this range out here. And you don't have to get a long ways down there. I've been doing it with an extra mile and hitting from the top of this, and it's ending up about right there. If I can get that to work, about right there. And I haven't been getting that far down in there. I also tried from hitting here and coming up, and in some respects you can get farther down here with an extra mile. But I think from up here you can get farther yet with a big topper. You can get way down in there. But I'm not sure that you need to get way down in there. When I practice with my quarterback, I'll find out whether or not you can get down into this spot right here with a quarterback. Because if you can, you're golden. Because once you get down into that spot, then you can make it from here. You can make it from here to the green. And you might not be able to get on the green, but that's not really that big of a problem. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get right over here. If you can get up on the green and get up on the back of it so it'll roll back down to the hole, that's ideal. But if you find yourself where you're barely there, the whole goal is to stay away from this sand and trying to get into that area right there where you're within pitching distance or you're on the fringe. Because when you come up to the hole, this down here is a lot lower than this level. This rock wall right here is just the height of that wall as it goes around. So when you're trying to come from here to try and get the ball up to this point, you're right here at the crotch of that, and it's real steep. And if you bring a guardian with you, which is what I've been playing with on these, if you bring a guardian, that 2 topspin is just barely enough to get you, like, you're in this area a lot. And I'm happy with that because it kept me away from the sand. Because you're having to really kind of stretch the club to its limits. So if you can be down here and not on the green, you do not want to be short on the green here. You do not want to just barely clip the green and have to make that putt, because I don't think you can make it. But if you have a big dog and you're in this area right here, you got plenty of club. You're going to have plenty of club to be able to get from here up to here, and you can start back a little bit further because that club's got more topspin. And so you can allow that topspin to come into play. And you've got plenty of movement with the course here. You might even be able to get that club up into this area where its first bounces here, and then you apply curl and get it to come in. I haven't played yet with the big dog to see how, what the shots are down here, but you have 2 shots to come over to this side, one from down low and one from up high. And then once you're here, you pretty much have to have, if you want to try and get on and go for the pin, you're going to need a big dog. If you just want to get up there and have a really decent shot at an eagle, you can use a guardian. You could probably have a better shot with a sniper, but you'd have to make sure you got everything that you could get on your drive, and you wouldn't want to come here with anything less than a 3-power ball. Because if the sniper was a little bit short down here in this area, you want to make sure that you bring as much ball as you can possibly get. So when you're practicing, look at the clubs that you have, and sometimes you can adjust a club. You can go, wow, hey, I'm not getting here is with the club that I'm using, I'm not getting out here far enough. Or I'm ending up in the rough, or I'm ending up all over the place. So then quit bringing the big power club because we're laying up. And bring a club that's got a little better accuracy and try and get out here. And then when you're in this spot and you figure how this shot out, like, hey, if I get right here, I got the club to get me up here. Then once you get this shot figured out, now your next goal is to figure this shot out. So now I've got that big dog. I put myself in the spot that I wanted to be in, and I did the deal. Maybe you'll find that up here, the shot's not nearly as good as it is from right here. I don't know how that distance this distance right here to the hole, where does it become shorter? Like if you're down here in the deal, is it shorter to it than it is from up here if you draw the line? It looks to me like it would be shorter if you're around the corner, so you don't have to get very far down there to make a decent shot. And actually, if you went, I've been trying to get it kind of more up into this area. And I've been ending up, I wouldn't say necessarily right in the center, but pretty close. I mean, I haven't been getting anywhere near getting into the rough. But that if you came in here a little bit bolder with a little bit of this kind of curl on it, it wouldn't hurt to be every little bit you could get out here would be closer to the hole. It really puts you closer to this spot up here, because if you can start the ball off up here with your club, then you just took all of these traps out of the picture and that hill out of the picture, and you're going down towards the hole. That's an awesome shot. All right, that was hole 6. Hole 7. All right, this hole right here, we need a QB. Now, if you play, you can use a quarterback, you can use an extra mile. This is actually not that hard of a shot. You don't have to have max top spin. You don't have to, this is one of those, 3 top spins more than enough. And you're going from this spot right here, and you're landing on this side, and then you're just rolling that ball over. Now you can get way down in here, okay, but you really just need to get right into this area right here. And a big dog works really well on this hole. It seems like they redesigned this hole. This hole seems different than it used to. This area in here, I'm not sure if I don't keep up with the, I know somebody out there is probably like, oh yeah, they redesigned that hole, but this hole does seem different because I don't remember this sand trap before. I remember this hole coming out and having a lot more green out here because I came out right into this area right here and bounced towards the hole with a big dog. And it seems like this hole's been redesigned, but maybe it's just because I don't play it that much, but it really does seem different down here. It seemed like this little cup was further down. But maybe it's just how it is in this picture. But this hole right here is definitely, this hole right here, this second shot to get on is definitely a shot that you can get an eagle on. I mean, you can sink that shot. I mean, it's not a high percentage shot, but it is a shot that if you can, and it's best to come from below. I see a lot of guys, they start off over here, and they're trying to bounce it over the sand, and there's a kind of a flat area, and then it goes up a hill. So if you hit it a little fast and it goes past the hole, there's a good chance it's going to go up to the top of that hill and then turn around and then come right back to the hole. So when you're playing it, there's kind of the hill drops off right about there. So from that point over, it's going this direction, and over here it's just kind of going in the flat. So it's going in the flat, and there's a little bit of a hill up here, and it'll just roll around and come back past the hole. So what it tends to happen here a lot is people are like super close to the hole. And I've seen people make this shot, and if you play enough, you're going to see people make this shot too. But if you come at it from the bottom, you come at it from this direction as far as you can get out here, and you're coming at it from this direction, you're taking all of that drop out of play. And so you can aim straight for the hole and go straight at it. And if you have just the right amount of speed so that the ball doesn't start to fall off, the ball will go straight to the hole. I mean, you can't blow into the hole, but you need to, but if you can figure that shot out, you have a straight in eagle. And that is a much higher percentage shot than trying to get it to drop down this hill. Because it's hard once you get over the sand. It's really, when you're close to the green and you've made that shot, you've put yourself in a great position to try and get an eagle. You don't want to put a bunch of traps in the path to get that eagle. You want to try and figure out how to get around those traps. That's the whole deal. You can get around that trap by hitting over it, or you can get around that trap by never even dealing with that trap. And that is in my opinion, when I play real golf, you want to try and avoid the traps. Why put them into play? Why make it so that you hit a shot that you then had to hit another shot over a trap when you could have taken a shot over here that just took the trap out of play? Because you're almost in front of the trap when you do this shot over here. You would have had to have sliced the shot on the shot that's over here on this hillside to go up the slope to the hole in order to get into the sand. But if you don't have, and the deal is that this right here, it doesn't really matter what kind of club you have. You don't have to have a bunch of backspin and a bunch of side spin and a bunch of curl and a bunch of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of this you can do by using a better ball. So when you're up into this area, if you were using a kingmaker in order to make up some of that distance that you might need on a quarterback, you might use a kingmaker in order to get the ball over here into this area. But now you're using that, you've got that 3 power here to help get you up into here. It's got great side spin. All right, so this is hole number 7, and we've got a QB. We're going to start off with a quasar, because I don't think you need that much on this. But if you find that a quasar is not enough, then you'll go to a katana. And that'll be the same progression that I'll go in. I'll go quasar, katana, kingmaker. And when you're practicing, just practice with nirvana or navigators and quasars, and keep notes on what happened on that hole. Like, where was I? Like, when you take a shot, and if you make it or don't make it, think about, like, what did I do on that? Okay, hey, I did that stuff really good, so that you can remember what you did good. But if you make a mistake, then look at it and go, what did I do wrong on that? Okay, now that I made the mistake, what's the best way for me to get back in the game? Because act like it's a tournament hole and the guy in front of you made a bigger mistake than you. So you've got to go get your birdie, or you've got, do you still have a shot at the eagle? You got to make sure that you give yourself your best shots. So we got QB, quasar, and we're going to use a big dog. All right, that was hole number 7. Hole number 8. All right, we have another one of the par 3s, and of all of the par 3s that are in this is my favorite of the par 3s. But all of these par 3s are super, super dangerous. And I think this one is the most dangerous, especially when you have headwind. So if we have headwind here during the tournament, this is a very dangerous hole. So it will depend on what kind of wind we have, but even if it has consistent headwind, we'll be able to figure out what the over adjustment is to make up for that. But what wind does, you got to understand, is if you have backspin, if you're using backspin on your club, and so here's the flight of your ball, and it touches the ground right here. Okay, your backspin didn't take effect in any of this. And so the wind was pushing it this direction. Nothing bad happened. And you accounted for the wind. When it hits the ground right here, you are no longer accounting for the wind, because you accounted for the wind from when you struck the ball until the ball landed on the ground the first time. So you put the ball in the right direction for this wind. Okay? But when it hits the ground, if depending on where it hits, what angle it goes to, and what direction the wind's blowing, it's going to affect that next bounce a little differently, because you've only adjusted out for this. And if you do the backspin took effect right here. So if the wind's going in this direction, it hit the ground and it threw itself up in the air, and then it got pushed because this wind came through here, so it'll jump forward, and then when it hits the ground, it might actually backspin a little stronger. But if you've got headwind and you're in the same situation, you've come here and it hits the ground and it bounces up, and it does that high bounce because it just like jumped. It hits that wind, and that wind just kills it. And so you may make it fine to the spot that you want to, where you wanted to land. So you can come at it from the bottom down here, and there's a slope, a huge slope here. This from the top of this all the way to the bottom. There is a flat area kind of down here. You can see where the ripples are. And so everything gets funneled down towards the green. So there's a lot of close calls here. And you'll see people get hole-in-ones, but there's a lot of close calls. And you'll see a lot of people end up in the rough over here, or they'll shoot out down here to the bottom. But what's easy to happen here is for you to get caught up along this edge. And so if there's headwind and you started off here, and let's say you had backspin on it, so you started off here, it hit the ground, it was fine. It left there exactly like you wanted it to, but as soon as that ball bounced in the air, it got caught in that backspin, and instead of hitting right here, it clipped that rough and it just died. I mean, the second, because it's so steep right there, it just died. It lost all of its forward momentum. Same thing if you hit over here, anywhere on this. I like to hit from up above. And the reason I like to hit from up above is because when you come back down to the hole, you're coming at it from the low end, trying to go right up to the hole so you can try and hit a straight in shot right into the hole for a hole-in-one. And so I have a spot that I set my ball here. Like if I'm using a Saturn, I'll set the blue ring. You can see where the rough comes around, and there's like a little hollow area right here, like a half dome. I put my blue ring, I wedge my blue ring into that spot. That's my starting spot. And then what I do is I put in left-hand side spin and backspin until I get the edge of the end of the ball guide so that it's even with the hole. It'll be off, but it's even with the hole. And once I get that, wherever that is, to perfect, then what I do is I make the little micro adjustment to line it up directly with the hole, and then do a full ring adjustment. And on my Saturn, it's a 2.0. And this is also a good hole. I'm going to bring a backbone too, because I think in tournaments I actually play with the backbone because it's a little more accurate. And it's at 1.2. And we're going to start off with a navigator. Now sometimes I find that even though my backbone is more accurate, the spot that I like to start my ball off, the rings on the backbone are small. And so if the wind is really touchy, because some of those areas, you know, you're trying to hit on a flat area that's up here, if you hit along this edge that's curved down, it changes the angle so drastically that if you're off just a little bit and you hit that spot, you can go off in an odd angle. And so with the backbone, sometimes if you're in those very small spots and you're making those very small adjustments, if you don't get it absolutely right, you'll end up in a bad spot. Whereas with the Saturn, because the rings are bigger, the adjustment is it's different when you take the adjustment if you're into rings. So I may use my Saturn even though it's not as accurate. But I will try my backbone, because I think the last time I played this in a tournament, I used my backbone. So what I'm going to use is either a Saturn or a backbone and a navigator. I'm going to start with the nav and see how that works. And I'm looking for the wind. And you will need a little bit of, like if you find that you don't have quite enough side spin, and that may be, if you start this hole off with a Marlin, and I think you can play this with a Marlin, and that little bit of side spin might not be enough. So if that little bit of side spin's not enough, then side spin's the issue. So use a quasar instead of a navigator. You can use the nav if it is enough, and then you go, wow, I don't like dealing with that wind. The wind's a little bit high. Then you can use a navigator to adjust out the wind. The key is to make sure that your second bounce, you bounce from here and then you bounce down to the green, that make sure that your second bounce is on the green. You don't want to be down here on the fringe. You don't want to be on the fringe, because the fringe will instantly kill it. So you want to make sure that your next bounce, you've got enough backspin that your next bounce, and it won't take very much, the ball is going to land on the green. You go from fairway to green. All right, hole number 9. Man, I think this took like an hour just to do a little walkthrough here. So, I mean, hopefully you're writing notes as you're looking at the holes and I'm talking, and keep making some notes so you have something to start with for the week. All right, I love this hole. Okay, I'm going to definitely bring a QB. and you want to bring a ball with side spin, you can try a katana. I'm going to play it with a kingmaker. You can try a katana, and a katana will work, but it's not so much for the first shot. This whole deal here is a setup for this second shot. So when you get to that second shot, whatever drive you gave yourself, you want to make sure that you set yourself up for a second shot. And you would really hate for it to be that on your first shot you were a little short. You tried to make this curve and maybe you clipped the rough right here, and then you tribbled out into the fairway, and you're just a tit short. And the one thing that's holding you back is a ball. That's not a good deal. So when you're practicing, practice and find out what you can get to work. So if you can do that shot consistently with, a certain ball, find your spot up here, take that shot and do that shot every time. But if you get into a spot of bother and you're like, man, I'm always just a little short, then you need to go to a bigger ball. If you find yourself pushing up against the red line every single time you do this, and you're really trying to get up to that island, because when you're shooting it on this hole, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get your first shot to land out in here. You're trying to get it to land out in here, and you're trying to curve the ball over and to get it to go into this spot. In my opinion, everything on this side of that line doesn't exist. And really everything over here, if you need to be down into this spot right here in order to get to that spot, in order to get onto the green in two. I mean, I've seen people hit up here, and I've seen people do the stuff, and I've seen some people make it, but I've seen only a few. I mean, the mass majority of the people that go up in this direction do not get in the right spot in order to get from there to there, as opposed to from here to there. So, which one of those lines is shorter? And for people that have undeveloped clubs, from down here, they're going to have to use a big dog. And a big dog will be everything. It'll be the perfect club. You'll actually be like right in here for your red line. If you're using a guardian and you get down into that area, you get down into here, you don't have to get all the way down. If you get down into this area right here with a guardian, your red line's going to be somewhere about halfway through. If you're using I believe if you're using a katana, it might be a Titan, that your red line's going to be somewhere right in that neighborhood. And so you're going to be able to easily get onto that island. Even if you had a headwind in rookie, you're going to be able to get onto that island. You can still power against that. And if you get there and you know that you've got a headwind here, then you're going to just need to bring a bigger ball. And that's why you're bringing the big ball here. You don't need the power 3 ball to get you to here. You can use a power 1 quasar to get you here. But you want to make sure that when you're here taking this shot up to the green, that you brought the best tools that you have in your bag to get you on the green, because this is definitely a shot that you can albatross. There is a serious albatross shot here. So, if you've got undeveloped clubs, you're going to need to bring a big dog, and you're going to have a little less shot because it doesn't have ball guide. But if you can consistently get down in here, if you can get far down into this hole, you can bring a sniper. And if you bring a level 3, a power 3 ball, you'll be able to get on this island easily and have all that ball guide. And you've got backspin, topspin, so you've got a lot of control of a sniper. So this is definitely one of those holes that, depending on the clubs that are in your bag, if you've got undeveloped clubs, you need to bring a big dog. And don't worry about the albatross, just secure the eagle. There's going to be a ton of people that don't make eagle on this hole. This is going to be a hole right here that's going to ruin people's... You want to talk about holes that you have to get up. You have to get an eagle on this hole. I mean, this is, a par 5. This is a par 5, and you have got to get an eagle on this hole. There's going to be a bunch of people who do not get eagles on this hole, that flub this drive shot up, or they halfway got the drive shot right, but they didn't bring the right club to hit this shot. Or they brought the right club, but they didn't bring the right ball. They came here with a marlin and they thought, hey, I can use a marlin to get me down in here, and you can. And then I can use that marlin to get me here with, I hit it short up here because I didn't have as much curl, didn't have as much side spin, so I hit a little short. Well, guess what? The big dog could hit from here to here if you had a 3-power ball. It could probably hit from here to here with a 2-power ball. You could probably hit from here to here with a 1-power ball. But when you're back here and you bring a marlin, then your club's not going to be able to do what you brought it to do because you didn't bring the right ball. So, really in this game, you're going to develop your clubs over time. You're just going to collect clubs as you do it. It's just like going to the store and buying clubs. Guess what? You bought a set of clubs, and you're going to play with that set of clubs for years. If you're really serious about the game, you may go through, you may go up and upgrade your clubs, or you may go to a club doctor and have them analyze your swing and make clubs for you. And what the deal is there is you're buying clubs. So like you go buy Cleveland's. That's the thing about in this game, they talk about the clubs. It's crazy because normally in golf you buy a set of clubs and that's what you use. So I'm not worried at all about if the clubs max out and there's no more clubs available. Hey, I solved one problem in this game. I maxed out the clubs. Yay! I'm in that club, right? Well, I don't have all my clubs maxed out, so it's not a big deal. But this hole here, you have to get a par. You have to get an eagle on this hole. In my notes here, it's like you have to get eagle. You have to get an eagle on this hole. It's just not even an option. And I'm going to bring a sniper, because I know I can get that ball down there far enough to get in my sniper range with a quarterback. A quarterback combo with a sniper is an awesome combo, and this is definitely a hole that favors that combo. All right, so let's kind of recap. We'll just go through them real quick. This hole here, we're looking at, this is a birdie hole. Hole number 2. This is an eagle hole. We got an eagle shot. We're gonna have to drive for eagle. So I'm gonna write on my notes here that we need an eagle. Hole number 3, par 5. Hole number 3. Hey, there you go. We need an eagle on this one. And that's 1 shot to there, 2 shots to there, and 3 shots to get on. So your eagle shot's still trying to get on unless we can figure out a way to get over. But we need to get an eagle on that hole. All right, go for eagle. Go for eagle. Hole number 4. We need a birdie. We need a birdie on that hole. We get lucky and get a hole in one. Awesome. We need to get an eagle on this hole. We need to make this shot. And we need to try and make this shot every single time. Hole number 6. We got 1 shot to here, 2 shots we're on. And this is a par 5. So we need an eagle on this hole. Big time. Hole number 6, need eagle. Because there'll be guys that don't get eagles on that. There'll be a bunch of players that will not get an eagle on that. Hole number 7. This is a par 4. We need to get an eagle on this. We need to go for eagle. I'll see. The last tournament that we played, the New York tournament, I won that tournament. And I won that tournament because of this hole. I got an eagle on this hole, both in the opening and in the final round, and this was the hole that was the turning point. when I did it with my big dog, there was a spot. That's why the hole looks a little bit, that's why I think the hole looks a little bit different. But I haven't shot it yet with my big dog, so maybe it isn't. All right, this one is definitely a birdie hole. But of all of the par threes, I think this one, personally, to my game, this gives me the best shot at hole in one. But this is a dangerous hole. And this hole right here, we need an eagle, because there's going to be a bunch of players that do not get eagle on this hole as well. You have to get an eagle. The last time we played this tournament, the reason that I really like this tournament is because this tournament's very technical. It's not about every hole you have an opportunity to get a shot up. On this one right here, it's on every hole you have an opportunity to make a massive mistake. And so, you know, if you end up here in the rough, you cannot get on. So on this par 5, you will not get an eagle. I mean, you may be able to sink the shot from out here to get that eagle, but you're going to have to work hard because you made that mistake. You're not going to be able to, like on a lot of these holes where you can recover from a slight mistake and you're right back in play. Or that shot right there, you're just taking the same shot that you would have taken from the fairway, from the rough, and the needle's just moving a little bit faster, but you can still get that albatross. You're not going to get those shots on this course. This course has got a lot of tough technical holes, and so it's going to favor players that have a method. So if you do not adjust for wind, if you just let the wind do its thing, then this course is probably, you're going to have a rough time on this course. And I remember when these holes first came out, these are tough holes. So, all right, we've got some scouting notes. We've looked at all the holes. We spent at least an hour. Sorry about the length of time. And we've got some preliminary notes. So now what we want to do is we want to go start playing Tour 6. We want to play these holes. And if you get, sometimes don't worry about if you're not getting these holes when you're playing. Just go out there and play those other holes because it'll remind you what Tour 6 is all about. And just go out there and play those holes and be aggressive when you're playing those holes because those holes don't matter. So go out there and be really aggressive and get used to doing overpower shots and get used to going out there and doing that so that when one of these holes pop up, you can immediately put on the ball that you're going to use, that you want to use on that hole, and really get aggressive with it. All right, thanks for watching.